Hey team, welcome back to HGDesignsCrochet, or welcome if it's your first time. If you're new, hey, hello and welcome, and if you are coming back, if you're returning, then what's good, what's happening? I hope you're tickety boo. We're doing one of those traditional sit down vlogs today. And I've got some works in progress, I've got some inside HGDC sneak peeks, some projects and some updates. So without further ado, let's jump into it, shall we? First things first, we're going to do works in progress. I'm going to bring the camera a bit closer because I have had a bit of a cough going on for a couple of weeks and I'm struggling with my voice. That's better. That's better. I've had a chesty cough since around the time we went camping. So that was... Why is my brain mushing like this? A full-on chesty cough for like 2 weeks now. I'm not entirely sure what's caused it. I know that there's been a summertime virus going around, which is not fair because summer is not the time to be poorly. It is not germ season, and we've had 3 heat waves and then we've been plunged into cold weather almost immediately after. So I don't know if the temperature fluctuations have attributed to that. I don't know, but it's hanging on and I'm struggling with my volume of my voice. Today is the 2nd of August. I'm going to talk about everything I crocheted in July. I do not have any finished projects, so we're going to go straight into the works in progress. I spoke to you in the last vlog. Was it the August? Can't be August. June. Everything I crocheted in June. And I was like, I need another blanket. I need something I can just sit and join and work on without needing to think. And I'm not going to say it's a long-term project because I know me, if I focus on it and get sucked in, I can have it done lickety-split super quickly. So instead I'm going to call it a bigger project because it has got a lot more work that needs to go into it. So I spoke to you about 2 possibilities. I either make another birthday blanket in my own colours, or I start the big, huge, massive blanket. And I can confirm I started the big, huge, massive blanket. I started it pretty much the moment I ended my recording. I was like, let's do this. Let me show you and introduce you properly. This is big, huge, massive blanket. That's what Teddy has called anything that has a considerable size. Teddy calls it big, huge, massive. So this is big, huge, massive. It is in effect a giant XXL size of my arrival blanket. That is in baby blanket size. Arrival is a baby blanket size. This is going to be double bed size, and I can't remember now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. In width, it is 20 squares. I did all of the measurements and I originally was going to make it 29 squares. And I took those measurements based off a Oliver Bonus. Is it Bonus or Bonos? Whatever. I took the measurements off one of the throws that I saw in there that I absolutely love, and it's designed to sit on a double bed and then hang down and like drape beautifully. But when I did the first row, I went and put it on our bed and there was too much overhang. I think I had 29 squares and I decided to reduce it down because I can always add more squares on, but taking squares off if I feel it's too big means redoing the whole project. So I think the difference is that our bed is a floor bed. We just basically have the mattress on the floor because we co-sleep with Teddy, and we did that when he started to become mobile, so there wouldn't be any accidental falling off the bed, and so he could get in and out. So we don't have the bed frame, so it doesn't need to overhang, because the overhang is literally just gonna be a tripping hazard on the floor, and it didn't look great. We have no plans to get bed frames or anything put in anymore. We're just going to leave it as it is. So I just wanted it to work with what we've got. So 20 squares in width, and so far I think I've started the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've started the 7th row. I haven't woven in a single end at all. Originally my plan was to weave in all the ends on the granny squares and then join them, and I think I wove in about 20 squares and I quickly became bored. Trying to weave in all of the squares when there's going to be about 800 is probably overly ambitious, because it's quite a dull task. I don't mind doing it, but it would take me months, and I want to be joining it. So my plan is to finish the 7th row, or however many rows, and then weave in the ends and then start adding more rows. I might make it into a bit of a game. If I gamify it and weave in the ends on 20 squares and then add in those squares, that could work well. I might do that. I don't want to leave all the ends till the very end of the project, but I haven't ruled that out as a possibility either. So let's just see what we do. This is the back. Each granny square has 4 ends, and there are 6 rows of 20, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. There's 124 squares on here. 24? 123 squares on here at the moment. And then if you times that by 4, 492 ends already waiting for me. I'm really happy with it, really enjoying it. I'm joining it in Yarn Smith's off-white yarn. Is it off-white? Yeah. Yarn Smith's double knit create in off-white. I actually bought 20 balls of this, and there are 2 balls remaining in this pack of 10, which just lives behind the sofa, so I can grab it when I want to. I have put that yarn into Teddy's birthday blanket, of which I used 200 and something grams. I have put it into the beginnings of a new garment, of which I think there's maybe 200 grams into that, so that's 500. And then this has now got the second ball, so it's 200, so there's 7. And then there's 2 in there, and then I picked another one out to start one of my works in progress that I'm going to show you. And then I have another 10 balls untouched upstairs. They're all the same dye lot. I do not know offhand how many balls this is going to take without checking my notes, but I had to swap on row 4 or 5. I had to add in the next ball, and I think there's going to be 20 rows. So say I swapped every 4 rows just to give me a little bit extra buffer, then I'm going to need at least 500 grams for the blanket itself, and then I'm probably going to need another 100 for the joining, so there's 6 balls into this project alone. I absolutely love the colours. All of the yarn is double knit acrylic yarn that I have in my stash, of which I have a plenty. I have been creating all of my centres and then producing bags and bags of granny squares for quite possibly the whole year. I think I maybe started in December. I got to around 800, and then I've dipped in and out of that bag to create more projects. One thing I will say is I need to pause at some point and create more. So I love to space out the colours so that it looks scrappy. and I have an entire system designed where I can do this, and I've shared all of that in my Granny Square guide, which you get for free when you download a Granny Square project, and you can also purchase it as well. But because of the size of it, I need such a mix of colours. Normally, excuse me, I try not to duplicate the colour within a 9 square radius, but I have extended that to something more like, I'd say more like this. So in a 6x5 square, I don't want the colours to be duplicated. And that has meant that I've needed such a mix of colours to be able to make this work. And I do have not only all of these granny squares, I also have all of these ones as well. So in the yellow, we have the yellows and the oranges, and then in this one, in the purple, I've got all of the blues and the greens, which I do not have very many of in comparison to this one, which is all of the pinks and the reds and the purples. I have separated them into colour so that when it comes, whoa, steady now. When it comes to arranging the next row, it's easy to divvy out. And what I do is I make a big batch of centres. Oh, I actually have a load in here that need to go into my organiser. I then have organisers and I put all of the colours in their own sections, and then I will pick out 5 to 10 colours and I will add the second round in, and then once I've added the second round in, they then go into they either go into this bag or they go into the system I've got set up here. And then the next step is I lay out this and then I put the granny squares next to it, and then once I know what order I want them in, I put them onto this stitch keeper. It just looks like a giant safety pin. And this is the row. This is the next row. This is the order that I'm going to join them in, and you go from left to right. So when you're putting them on the organizer, you need to start from the right and put what will be the last square on first, and then you've got it in reverse order. So then when I take this one off, it will go from the left all the way to the right. And sometimes I will get 2 or 3 of these and lay them out, but if I'm honest, I feel like it's too much of an attraction for Teddy, and the time it takes me to lay it out and put 20 squares, I hedge my bets and I just put it on here. And then I've been trying to, once he falls asleep, I will just lay out the next row. I got fluff in my mouth already. I'll lay out the next row, and then this is today's squares. So if at any point I can add squares on, they're ready to go. I just keep them in the zippy pouch along with the hook that I'm using, which is a 4.5mm, and my scissors. And then that way, this project is ready to go at any point. So this is a bigger project that will take me however long it takes me. I have no end point on this. I'm making it so that this winter I have got something warm to be under, but even if it's not finished, I can use it whilst working on it once it gets to a certain size, so that's fine. I'm really focusing on making sure that we've got lots of warm things for winter. I just have it in my head that this winter's going to be really brutal in terms of cost of living and energy prices and just the weather itself. So this one is for me. It will live on our bed, but I'll also bring it down here to use on the sofa when needed. And I might potentially make 2. Because in our main bedroom, we're going to have 2 double mattresses next to each other. We currently have a double and a single, but we're going to upgrade it at some point. And we also have plans in the future to convert a van, and that will have 2 double beds, and it will look so cute to have matchy matchy. So big, huge, massive blanket, whip 1. Now we are going to go straight into Inside HGDC, which is a section all about my own business, because all of the projects I've got to share with you are for that. In the last few vlogs I've been talking about, I just wasn't sure on the future of HGDC and the sub squad and what to do, and just feeling a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit lost. And I emailed everybody in the sub squad. I got some amazing responses, and I posted about it on Instagram. I got some really wonderful responses, and amongst all of that, something triggered off, like reminded me of my 5-year plan that I had made. And I have actually shared that as an Instagram post, and I want to create a whole video on that. The gist of it is that my plan was, whilst I had a young child and whilst I was in that babyhood stage of being a mama, that I would create a collection every year for 5 years, and then I'll put that collection out. And then at the end of the 5 years, when my child went to school, I would have 5 collections, and each of those collections would be priced at £25, because I had read a book that brought all of this together called 12 Months to 1 Million. And they have a formula in there that if you have 5 products priced at $25 to $30 and then you sell 25 of them per day, you would have $1 million business. And my thought process was, what if I build these products and have all of these building blocks in place, so that once my child goes to school and I have more time, energy and resources, I can pour rocket fuel on my business and take over the world, change the world. And I don't want to take it over, I just want to make it better. And that's where the first collection came in. And I did a collection in Teddy's first year. The second year, I knew I needed to make changes. I took time off and I did a mini collection. And when I came back from that break, I had the idea of the sub squad. And my sub squad is my bi-monthly subscription. So every second month a pattern goes out and my team subscribe, they become my sub squadders. And that means that I have a regular income every 2 months, which is an absolute win-win. It means that I have very minimal deadlines, which is another win, because I can usually pace that around Teddy and day-to-day life. And it means that the sub squad patterns, because there will be 5 or 6 per year, then form the collection for the following year, which means I'm working smarter, not harder. I'm not trying to create this whole collection and just put it out there. I'm doing it bit by bit across the year. Less stress for me, more likely to get the work done. And somewhere along the way, I'd gotten a bit lost and really bogged down in the numbers on the sub squad and the numbers of my business, forgetting that I'm supposed to be taking things slower. I'm supposed to be doing it in my own way, and that other businesses are going to be smashing it, and they should be in their own right, smashing it. But right now, success looks different to me, and I really had to remind myself of that. So I've put that post up there as a reminder to myself. When I have these wobbles, that is my reminder. Just keep doing the little bits, because the little bits then add up to the collection, and the collection's going to add up. I did also put in an updated page on there that I made that plan in 2021/2022, and now here we are in 2025. Things are different. Anyone that's been around here knows that my son will not be going to the school system, so the 5 years is somewhat stretchy. And we also have PTSD, neurodivergence and cost of living crisis to factor into that as well. So yeah, I think that deserves its own video. I posted that post, reaffirmed with myself what I am working towards, and with that decided to continue with the sub squad. I absolutely love the sub squad. I love putting the time in. I really enjoy putting the patterns out. It is somewhat manageable. It has been more tricky of late with Brad doing extra hours, because he has a full-time and a part-time job. and we are both feeling that, but that is for the short term. I'm really trying to remind myself of that and just give myself a lot of grace. So as soon as I did the post saying I don't know whether to just turn HGDC into a hobby, I knew that no, can't stand for that. I don't want to keep saying stand. I feel like it's so ableist. I'm not here for that. I want to continue. It's just figuring out how to make it work in the current situation that we're in. And immediately I was like, okay, what is going to be the next sub-squad pattern? So if you are a sub-squadder, then you would have already had an email. So this is not news to you, but for anybody else, it might be news, depending on where I am with my posts on HGDC, on Instagram, sorry. I have been working on the next set of patterns, which will then form the next collection. And the first pattern that I'm going to be putting out, I think I've set my mind. I'm going to restart the sub-squad from the 15th of August, which is Granny Square Day. And I think this is going to be my flow for the years to come. In previous years, I have absolutely pushed and put out a collection on Granny Square Day. And Granny Square Day is so huge because obviously I'm Granny Square everything. I wanted to use that date to help my business, but it wasn't quite working for me. And I decided to put the sub-squad on a pause, and in future years I'll be taking June and July off from the sub-squad, and I will be reducing my social media output during those months as well, through June and July. And I will then run the sub-squad from August and September, and then October, November, December, January, February, March, and then April, May. So it'll be 5, and then I'll take June and July off and restart in the August. And in my collection there are usually 5 patterns. I've already got 5 patterns that have come out in a sub-squad. I need to say thank you to you all, and I need to acknowledge the wins, no matter how small they are. I have 5 bags that I've already put out. Elo Shopper Takeover, and I have the Comfort crossbody bag, and then I'm going to need a 5th. I think that's right. Oh, and I didn't tell you about the frilly pouches. I like to put in, I price my collections at £25, and I want you to be able to actually get a deal. Like, it's got to make sense to buy the collection, that it saves you money. So I put 5 patterns in, and rather than pricing it at £30, I price it at £25. So it's saving you £5 at least, depending on what discounts are running at the time as well. I have 2 patterns that I can put out as the next sub-squad pattern, and I need to decide which one it's going to be. So I can either go with this one, which is my Comfort pouch, and these have featured before. They are inspired by my Comfort cushion and my Comfort crossbody bag, and this is double knit acrylic yarn, 2 round granny squares, joined using continuous join as you go, which is my go-to method for absolutely everything. Did I tell you I used continuous join as you go on that? I hope I did. And I have tutorials on my YouTube, and I have a tutorial in my granny square guide as well. And then I have lined this with scrap, in effect. It's the black yarn held double with scrap yarn, double knit acrylic, so that makes it a bulky or chunky weight. And then I have this zip for closure, and this one is ginormous, and it is for my MacBook. And then I've made a smaller one, which is going to be a project bag, and this one just needs the zip installing, and it's got the remnants of a project that I'm taking apart for the joining yarn. So this is one option, and then the other option is this one, and it is my heartfelt cushion. I think that's the name I'm going to go with, Heartfelt. And this is granny squares, but it's with a difference. So the hearts are formed with triangles, and then you put the blocks together. This needs a cushion pad, it needs the ends weaving in, and it needs the tie closures. And I haven't 100% decided which one I'm going for. We're actually at the 1 year anniversary, so whichever pattern goes out, it's going to mark the 1 year anniversary, which I think I need to celebrate. That's a huge deal. It makes sense in my mind to do this. So yes, which one do you prefer? I've probably picked right now, but whichever one. I do have other patterns, so supposing I've already picked right now, say this one hasn't been picked, but you really like this, and I can just make that next rather than using something else that I'm working on. I wanted to post everybody's names on here and say a huge thank you to everyone who is already in the sub squad. Thank you so much for subscribing. It makes such a difference to HGDesign, it makes such a difference to me, and I really appreciate you, and I know how much you love the patterns and the feedback you give me, so thank you so much. Collection updates. I have reached out to 2 photographers. The one that is 2 hours away from me that I've used previously, and one that is more local. I haven't heard back from either. I keep saying to Brad, like, I don't know if this is a sign or what. I do not know. But anyway, I don't quite have the finances in place for the photo shoot. So I have no set date on when I want to book it in. And as I said previously, I used to release my collection in August on Granny Square Day, but I'm now going to be doing it at some point in the future. Hopefully it'll be this year. And my plan is that I'll have August, I'll have the sub squad go out. September, I'm then going to promote one of my previous patterns because I don't get a lot of sales on them. I don't share a lot about them. And then October, potentially the collection would go out. October would be sub squad pattern 2 of year 2. I need to find a way to like differentiate that. Like, are we in season 2? So pattern 2 of season 2, and then November might be the collection going out. I do not know. And then December will be a sub squad pattern. So on the alternate month when the sub squad pattern is not going out, I want to release the collection. And then going forward in the alternate month, I will either promote a previous pattern or I will release part of the collection as an individual standalone pattern. And my hopes with that is that because I see all of my income on every second month, that I will then see some income coming in on the alternate. So every month there will be money coming in, which will give me even more stability because there'll be even more income. But until the photo shoot is booked, I don't know when I can put that out. And as I said, I haven't heard back from either of them. One of them, I know I got lost in her DMs. I made an inquiry on her website and I've not heard for like 2 or 3 weeks. So I made the decision to contact my previous photographer, the one that is 2 hours away, and was like, I will make it work. And she's not read my message. So I feel like I'm in a position where I'm just going to wait to see which one gets in touch with me first. And if I haven't heard from either of them in a month, like by the 1st of September, then I need to look elsewhere. So yeah, we'll see. I was like, is this a me thing? Have I done something that they don't want to work with me? I was just reading into it far too much. I think they're both just busy with life stuff. So we've done the sub squad, we've done the collection. Let's show you some of the other patterns that I have then been working on that will become part of the sub squad, part of the collection. I have had an idea in my head for a few different bags. When I spoke to you about the memory bag I wanted to make for my cousin's funeral, I spoke to you about another pattern. There was like 6 options that I could work on, and one of them has been begging me to work on it, so I have been doing so. Let me show you what I've got so far. This will be a future sub squad pattern, and I have these heart blocks. Can you see a theme here? I've done a blue, a lilac, a lime green and a pink. I'm just weaving in the last ends on the pink. I'm going to join them in the way that I've joined this one, with where you can see the seam, and this is going to be one side of the bag, and then this is going to be the other side of the bag, and then it's going to be joined in the off-white, and it's going to have a very similar shape to my takeover bag, and I guess it's going to be called my heartfelt bag, and then I have the heartfelt cushion. I'm just loving these little hearts so much. This will be months and months down the line. It's potentially pattern 3. My only, in the back of my head, slight nagging voice is that would people be a little bit annoyed to work on the hearts for this and then the hearts on this back to back? Would you want to go into a different, like, would you want to go back to granny squares for a month and rotate it out a bit? Don't know. Anyway, loving that. Working on that bit by bit. Shouldn't take long to put that one together now. The plan is to put the zip in on this one, and I have started writing up that pattern. And then for this one, ideally I would go with the comfort pouch as my next release, because with this one I want to get the heart block tested, because as long as the heart block works, you'll be able to do the rest of it. So I need a bit more time than what I have currently got. I could rush it through, but I'm trying not to be a rush through life anymore. I would like to get 5 or so people to just test this block to make sure that the step-by-step that I've put together makes sense, because if it doesn't, then you're not going to be able to do the whole pattern. I have moved away from testing a lot of my patterns, and it was mainly just because of the amount of admin it was adding on, and I felt guilty because I just couldn't keep up with the test group. I do miss it because I miss chatting to you all about the patterns, and I also feel like it really helped promote the patterns as well, because then I had 5 or 10 of you sharing your finished projects. So I'm gonna have to be super organized in order to start getting patterns tested again. And honestly, I have like a fear now of starting a test group, because every time I do, I feel like everything around me just crumbles. The last test I did was my frilly cloths, and I started the test, and the very next day, like, Teddy and Brad were poorly. I went through some mental health stuff and just, what the hell? So, I feel like that's everything I want to share for July. I think that's everything crochet wise. We've had a lot going on in the background in terms of life stuff. Like, when do we not? I was supposed to start my second round of counselling last week, but the therapist was poorly, unfortunately. So they're going to get in touch with me with another date. We have gotten in touch with our church. We really want to return to church. We took Teddy out because of just struggling to access it. We need some accommodations put in place to make it more inclusive for him. So we've reached out to them, and I got a holding email from them to say they'd be back after, probably get back in touch with us towards September, which works out great, because in my mind I had it in my head that we would go back in September, sort of like the start of a new year, new term. So we've had all of that going on. We have been booking occupational therapists for Teddy. I've had a lot of admin in terms of paperwork to apply for certain things. and he's been having a lot of meltdowns. We had one that was very intense yesterday, so intense that my phone clocked a 21-minute workout whilst I was helping him. And that's the longest meltdown we've had in duration. I think it was about 45 minutes. Brad has been doing extra hours, so he's working full-time job and a part-time job. So he's doing anywhere between 55 and 60 hours a week. A decision that we made jointly, that he would go and have that job. I explained all this in my previous video. And I'm really proud to say that we are now debt free. We have paid off all of our debt, and anything that was on finance is paid in full. We have no monthly outgoings other than my phone contract, both of our phone contracts, and like our internet. So utilities in effect, because everything else is paid in full. Our car, every object that we own in our home, everything is paid in full. The only debt we have is my student loan, which goes out of our wages here in the UK, and our mortgage. And we've been working towards that point for 18 months. And it has been, we put so much into it, and we've sacrificed and we've scrimped and we've pushed so hard, and we made the final payment and we both just felt completely flat and completely empty. Because when we started paying all of this off, the whole reason for doing it was 2 years ago, we said if we ever want to have another child, we need to be in the best circumstances, financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And since we started paying everything off, the cost of living crisis has really made itself known. And the £600 to £700 that we have cleared off in payments, from credit cards to finance payments to for items around the home, for the car, that should have cleared up £600 to £700 a month. But because of the cost of living, that money has been absorbed. We have not altered our lifestyle in any way. It's not lifestyle creep. We've not decided to go and buy a fancier car or anything like that. It's the total opposite. We downgraded our car to something that was more economic and had a smaller price tag, so we could overpay the loan. And that money has just been absorbed because our mortgage has gone up, because food is like triple the cost that it was 3-4 years ago, because every single utility has gone up. When Brad and I first started dating 5 years ago, the gas and electric on this house was about £50 a month, and we now pay £150 a month for the same usage, probably less usage, because we are very conscious that the bill is so high. So we made those changes because it was going to free up a huge chunk of money and mean that we had more money to go and do activities with Teddy and holidays and save and all these other things. And Brad has actually gone and got a part-time job, which is then creating the £600 to £700 a month to put us in the position we thought we would be in once we cleared our debt. And it is destroying. Like, you just think, what's the point? If we had not have started paying that off, we would be in absolute dire straits right now. We would not be able to cover everything. Our mortgage went up, and if we had not have cleared the amount that we had, one, we wouldn't have got the rates that we did, and two, we wouldn't have enough month to month. And we have a very small mortgage because we have a very small home. This is a starter home. It's just soul destroying. And I know we can't be the only ones going through this right now, where you just look at your bills and you just think, how is this possible? How are we supposed to pay all of this? So if anybody is in that situation, I do have a budgeting spreadsheet and tracker and everything that I've put up, and I'm thinking of creating a worksheet, like a workbook as well, sharing everything we've learned, how to get to this debt free and all of that. So if that is something you're interested in, can you please let me know? Because I want to create stuff that you're going to use, not just stuff that I am obsessed with. And our finances, I am hyper focused, because we've had to learn to budget. We have been on one income for almost 3 years, and in the last 3 months Brad has gone and got a second job. He's gone and got that second job because we thought that once we were debt free we'd be able to save that 600 and really build up our savings, but that money is not there now. We only see just under £200 of it. £400 has just been absorbed. We have plans to overpay the mortgage. We have plans that we want to save up and get a van and convert it. We have plans. We have so many plans. We need more savings put by. And so that's where this money's come from. And with that, once we made that payment, we were both like, is this what we want out of life? And we've spoken about this a little bit, especially in Teddy's birthday blanket vlog. They're like, we know we need to make changes, but we just don't know what it is. There's a lot going on in the background, and there has been for such a long time now. But obviously, I share a lot more of that with you. I did want to just hide in bed this morning. I didn't want to record. I didn't want to do anything. I just want to be able to sit and cry. We're getting there. We are getting there. I've introduced a schedule for Teddy. One that has been very carefully crafted because we suspect he's autistic and PDA. So anything that is a full on demand is a no. So I have been putting that in place, and it's working really well. We've been doing that the last couple of weeks. We are working towards our next financial goals, and then at that point Brad can drop the extra hours. Hopefully that will be by the new year. And at that point, come new year, we will all as a family have more time, and I will have more work time. So I'm just keeping things ticking for now. I'm keeping the sub squad going. I'm chipping away at the next patterns, and I'm just little bit by little bit putting myself in the best position so that when my time and resources flow back to me, I can put more and more in. So that's everything now for this podcast episode. Everything that I have crocheted and the life stuff and all of that good stuff. The only bit to add in on the life stuff is, I guess, next month. So August, I'm going to be putting out the sub squad pattern the 15th of August. I've got some refunds to do on my website. I had fraudulent activity where somebody used 15-20 people's bank details to order my granny square guide, and I'm guessing what they did is, I don't really understand it, because they used it and they spent 99p on there, and it's the same address that's done it, so I don't get how they've benefited from it. It's a digital product, so it's not like they saw the money, so I don't understand why it's been done. But I think because it's such a small amount, some people haven't chased it up, and then I left it because I wasn't sure if my content had been shown somewhere, and so loads of people have come and purchased it, but it said that it could be a high risk of fraud, and then a few people have done chargebacks, so I need to go and do all the refunds on that, reach out to people. The chargebacks means that I'm charged £12 and the guide was only 99 pence, so it's put me, it's not great, is it? And I've actually took the guide off for now, and I need to get in touch with Shopify and be like, what's going on? I also need to find out on Shopify how to take down the EU profile so that I can't ship there, because that would then be breaking the law until I become compliant with that. And then I obviously need to finish the pattern to go out on the 15th. I'd like to get this tested, and then I'm waiting to hear back on the collection. And beyond that, that's everything in terms of goals and to-do list. I'm keeping it very small, and then I've started to use my planner as a to-done list. So I'm writing everything that I've done and then ticked it off, because it's far more enjoyable than having this big list that I just can't get to. I've also decided over August that I'm only going to put out one video every 2 weeks on YouTube, because I'm having my niece come to spend some time with me on a Wednesday. It's the only day she can be here. It's also one of my work days. So for the next 4 weeks, there'll only be 2 videos coming out, and then after that I will increase again to every week. I'm sticking to my 3 posts on Instagram every week. I love spending time on Instagram, but most of my sales That's where most of my sales used to come from, but they don't anymore. So I don't know if I'm going to need to alter my plan. Anyway, we'll go into all of that at some point. That's everything. I'm going to go. Toodle pip. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you soon. Toodle pip.